I've got a mixed pear wine with kombucha.
Ooh, it's been a while. It's been a while since you've done one of these. It's been a while since you've done one of these combos.
I've been doing them in the background. I just don't mention them as often.
Oh, okay. Because usually, I guess we haven't talked about what we've been drinking. I'm actually drinking a little coffee and gin. Believe it or not.
There you go.
Interesting.
There you go.
It is very good.
All right.
Coffee and gin, better than whiskey and gin. Better than whiskey and gin. Better than whiskey and coffee.
Interesting.
Okay.
I'll have to try it. I can't knock it.
Especially if it has like a creamer element.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Like I got just like a mocha kind of coffee thing with a little bit of gin in there.
Yeah, now that I think about it, like I feel like juniper would go well with a coffee.
Dude, I used to when I first started drinking, this is gross, but I used to drink literally a glass, like I'd fill a glass with ice like all the way to the top, and then it'd be a pint glass, so it wouldn't technically be half and half, but I would fill it halfway with Baileys, and I would get the Baileys with a hint of mint chocolate flavor, and then halfway the rest with chocolate milk. Fucking delicious.
Yeah,
man.
no, that sounds just good. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then if you just add gin to that, delicious, still delicious. not a ton. You can't go heavy on
that is a bridge too far, I think.
Why? Gin and chocolate? Like it's like a mousse, like a martini, like a chocolate martini.
As someone that's mixed milk and soda together in my childhood many times and let that curdle in my stomach, I think you're going for similar vibes there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
maybe.
I associate milk with just like bad times now.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Leavy.
Hey folks.
And John Hines.
Hello.
And we are back as always to talk about some video games. And I gotta tell you guys, I've got Boba fever. I know we talked about Pack Fever a few weeks ago.
We did.
And we've all been checking out this new indie game from a few of our kind of pals, I guess we can say.
Yeah.
Connor Grail, I know we've mentioned a ton of times on the podcast. Did the music for this game. Again, the name of the game is BOBA. Boba. And it's like kind of like a precision arcadey puzzle platformer. And again, Connor Grail on the tunes. And then Casey MacNiel does like the programming, level design for the most part. And then Dalton Leavy does the art and stuff. But they collaborate on everything pretty much, you know. But yeah, this new game came out, and it's like a kind of bite-sized puzzle platformer, more arcadey, like precision platformer than puzzly, I guess. But it still has like some, you got to figure out some of the levels, or, you know, it has a little bit of that. But yeah, there's like kind of 32 bite-sized single-screen levels to play through. And on top of that, there's like a full-blown level editor, which we'll probably get into a little deeper on another episode. We'll touch on it a little bit here, but like I know I've had a little bit of time. I made a couple levels, and it's like really easy to use. It feels really cool, and again, we'll talk about that some more. But yeah, kind of like Self we talked about before. It has that same kind of feel. They're looking to expand this game more, maybe turn it into a more full project. But again, it's another one you can play right in your browser. And again, the fact that it has this functionality to build levels and share them online with others to check out, like. It's just so cool. I'm blown away by this, like the feat that they've accomplished, to be honest. Like it's really, really impressive, on top of the fact that it's a really awesome game with a really cool art style and a really banging soundtrack. But I know we all checked it out. What did you guys think of this one? I know you probably know what I think by now.
the banging soundtrack is no joke. I want to throw that out. It has
been in my head. I've been walking around just going, Boba all day long.
Yeah, I went and I actually grabbed Connor's soundtrack on Bandcamp because I'm like, oh, this is my jam. Like
it's like an EP. It's a legit EP.
Yeah. I'm like, these songs, like multiple tracks stuck in my head, and like to the point where I think a soundtrack can really propel a game forward. I know, really like controversial opinion there, but if it didn't have a soundtrack, like I think that's like I played through this game twice just last night, and I don't have a lot of time to play through games. Like, yeah. And I think a big factor why is like everything about this feels polished, but like the soundtrack in particular just really like propelled me forward to like added to my enjoyment, added to like the energy that like I feel this game has.
What a great word. Energy is the perfect word.
Yeah. Just like naturally, it has energy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like when I was playing through, I think I got through 14 levels, so I didn't play through the whole like batch of levels that come with the game.
Like halfway.
Like man, the tunes themselves were really good, but like I think they also gave me the motivation where like I feel like I'm not a huge fan of like precision platformers and like massacre like platforming games.
Right.
So there were a few levels where I was just like, God, this is a bit rough, even like that early on in the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like there's some tough ones.
Oh yeah.
Just listening to the music was honestly enough to like keep me going. I was like, yeah, I can sit through this song a couple more times before I give up. And then the song would
keeps
change
shifting
and I'd be like,
exactly,
all right, maybe I can do a few more levels. So that was good in itself. But like, I haven't delved into the level editor part, but I did download Tom Petty, your level, Kevin.
Oh yeah,
and also that I think introduced a couple mechanics that I hadn't been introduced to yet in the main game. So that
the
was
bubble
cool
one,
in
perhaps,
itself.
or the missiles, perhaps.
I had gotten to
the missiles are tough. The missiles are really tough.
I didn't get to the keyed platforms.
I see. Yeah, it's kind of like an instant key trigger. There's kind of like, there's basically, we haven't talked too much about the mechanics really, other than it's like a fast-paced puzzle platformer. People are definitely speed running this, or trying to already, like beating it in under 5 minutes, which is absurd. Or maybe not under 5 minutes, but get it right around there. But people are just going nuts. But it's kind of like, it's pretty simple. Like there's not a lot to it. There's basically buzz saws everywhere. And there's a key you have to grab on every level, and then it'll open a door, and then you have to go through the door, and then there'll be these bubbles on the level that will, when you're inside of them, stop time. There's nothing you can do as like a character other than jump and wall jump, I guess.
Yeah.
And you can kind of scale up the wall, like of course, sort of like in Celeste, like up the same wall, or you can jump back and forth.
Right.
But it's not strictly a back and forth like Mario.
Right.
But yeah, they're just like, I don't know, that bubble mechanic, like eventually they start introducing moving bubbles and moving saws and all that stuff. And again, in the level editor, you can do all that stuff yourself. The only thing you can't do is like add the little like flourishes of like, oh, there's a cafe in the background, or oh, there's like a little, just the little like extra cute touches.
Right.
But it still looks gorgeous just with the stock tile sets.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. It's like kind of this one bit, like it actually almost looks like like when you're looking at a bubble and it has that like rainbow effect.
Yeah.
When you see it like catch a certain light, like it kind of looks like that. It like kind of warps over time. Like it's really kind of just black and white, but then the white will like warp into different colors. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Even the bubbles kind of have like a warble to them. Like, I don't know, but yeah, and the level editor, just to mention, it has its own song, by the way, guys. When you're editing levels, it has a new track that you guys you probably heard it, Randall, if you picked up the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's like it's perfect because every time you beat a level maybe you did hear it real quick, John, because after you beat a level after you play one online, it goes to that. It like goes right to the level.
Well, I haven't beaten Tom Petty, so
I certainly haven't heard that.
Come on, guys!
Like that's
this
the
one
thing.
was
Like I am not a precision platformer type of guy.
Sadistic.
So as I was playing
beat it
that,
with
I was
the
like,
keyboard.
how the hell did you beat this?
Good for you.
I beat it with the keyboard. And you know how I feel about keyboard controls. I wanted to make sure that I told our buddy Morcalb, who's like trying to speed run every level and like we mentioned, speed running the game. And he's actually got a couple cool like I did a stream the other night where I've been streaming this game a bunch, and because there is this like constant updating feature of the game, like where people are making levels. For example, Dalton Leavy, who goes by Lizard online, he is the pixel artist. He's already there's 32 levels in the game. He's made 16 levels, and they're all awesome. They could have been in the game. Like, the whole time while I was streaming, like, our buddy Dev Dwarf, who is working on Self, he made a level while I was streaming, and then he was like, hey, I uploaded it. Like, I was like, hey, I'm getting a little tired, guys. He was like, hey, he jumped on the stream, and I was like, I guess I got to keep going. He's making a level. And then, Morcalb, he goes by Morky. He made a really cool level called Void. Our buddy Purple Thickman made a bunch of cool levels. We're actually going to do a stream this weekend. It'll be long done by the time this episode comes out, but I'll put a link to it in the episode description.
Yeah.
But we're going to do a stream where Purple Thickman, who makes awesome levels, he's made like 5 or 6 that are really, really cool. He's going to make a bunch of levels on the stream while I hang out, and then I'm going to play them after the fact. I'm not going to watch. I'm just going to hang out in the chat and then play them, and then play a bunch of other levels from the team, because people are just they're already modding this game. It's crazy. It's crazy. And again, they're doing this in the web build. I don't know. Did you guys play the web build, or did you play it? Did you download like the actual
I played it through
exe
Edge.
file or whatever? Yeah,
I just did the browser version on my Mac.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all I did.
And
I
it
plugged
played-
in
and
a
it-
PS4 controller, and it just worked perfectly well in browser with that.
Ooh, nice. And it's again that full, like, it's just a jump button. That's it. There's no dash. There's no anything fancy with your character. It's all about like the progression of the levels.
I'm such a
I just
sucker
thought-
for that too, that like most of the complexity is in the level design and options you have there, as opposed to on your character itself. I love that. Like, we didn't even talk about the white saw blades, that if you're in the bubble that is also slowing time, the white saw blades won't hurt you while you're in that bubble, while the bubble still exists. Of course, the bubble is shrinking as you're in it, but you won't die, in those instances if you can manage to like continue on out of that. So,
But the black buzzsaws will keep going.
Right.
Yes.
Well, here's a little tip though: when you're in the bubbles, the missiles will also not hurt you.
Right. They'll slow down.
You're totally invisible, but it's like super hot style. Like it pretty much stops time. I think it's still crawling forward a tad, but it pretty much stops time. And it's just, they've been working on this game for a while, and it shows. It really shows.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, even though they're looking to expand it more, and I know what they mean by like they want to make it a quote unquote full game. It feels very much like a full package. Like the only reason I say I'm rooting for it is because I like them to make a full game, or I just want more of it. And I'm happy to keep playing user levels, but I'm also, I would love to just see more from the creators and see if they could maybe add a couple new, like maybe an enemy, or not an enemy per se, but add more to the level design. That could, ramp things up, or just change up things, like have different kind of worlds that have different types of puzzles.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential there.
Big time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanted to mention real quick, since we're kind of talking precision platformers, there was another game I played. I know I said last week, I think, that we were not going to talk anymore Ludum Dare 48 on the podcast, but I've been known to tell a lie before, so...
I don't even know why you said that.
What's that?
I don't even know why you said that.
Yeah, I know. It was dumb of me. It was very dumb of me. But this one, I'm just going to give a real quick shout out. It's called Tailspin, and it's from Team Bugulon.
Nice.
I had actually checked out another game from them from a Game Maker's Toolkit game jam.
Nice.
Called Tricky Keys. It looks like a really like kind of Windows 95 platformer where you like control the cursor as your character.
Nice.
It's really, really cool. But this game, it kind of has like some drill dozer vibes. Like you control this little bird that has like a drill mechanic that you can, through certain like dirt parts. It's like a side-scrolling platformer.
Yeah.
Made for the Ludum Dare Game Jam in 72 hours. There's like 24 levels. There's like a bonus world. It is the most polished game. It took me an hour to play through.
Whoa.
There's like bonus collectibles, and it's kind of like Donkey Kong Country, like the new Donkey Kong Country Returns games. Like you have to get all there's like gems on each level. You can collect them all. And then there's a hidden scarab, or kind of like a tough to get scarab on each level that you can grab. And then if you get enough of those throughout the game, you might even have to get all of them in the first 4 worlds. It'll unlock a 5th world, or maybe it's 3 and then 4, but whatever. It unlocks a bonus world of a bunch more levels. And it's just like the coolest, like this drill mechanic. Like once there's a bunch of games that kind of work like this. Once you're drilling into the dirt, you'll go all the way down until you are either through that dirt, or you can drill you can't drill upwards, but you can drill left, right, or down. And it gets like really puzzly, like later on, like almost like Space Skulls, Randall. You're like going through like long, like mazy things, and like, I got a key over here, and now I got to go all the way wrap around back through the level.
Wrap around level stuff. I love it.
It's crazy. Like the game is so polished. It's unbelievable. If it released on Switch for like $5 or $10, wouldn't even bat an eyelash.
Nice.
Like it's insane how polished this is. So just keep an eye on Team Bugulon. And keep an eye on these game jams. I'm going to mention a few more game jam games later, but why don't I toss the ball over to Randall here and talk about some of what you and Tina have been playing lately.
Yeah, playing more video games. So
yes, little co-op.
This time on Game Pass. So we love our Game Pass.
Nice.
Here.
It's been a while since we've given Game Pass a little shout.
I know. But this one has actually been on Game Pass, maybe even since the launch. It's been because it
was day one.
Yeah, it just launched the basically end of 2020. I'm talking about PHOGS today.
Nice.
Which, if I were to pitch this, it's like if you remember the Nickelodeon show Cat Dog, but both sides are dogs, sans limbs, but then they can also do a Stretch Armstrong thing where they can stretch out in opposite directions to do fun puzzle mechanics.
Like Nobi Boy style, kind of?
Yes, very much Nobi Boy style in the body of the characters and the whimsy. There's some influences there, maybe.
It looks really like charming, like really bright, cheerful. I played a tiny bit of it, and I was just like, this feels like it needs to be a co-op game, and it does have online co-op, so I just haven't had the opportunity. But
I didn't realize
really cool.
That's cool.
I noticed that when I was really shocked by that because so many games don't have that, even games that like really need it. But this one, I guess because it is so heavily a co-op experience, at least it seemed to me. But did it feel that way on your end, Randall?
I think like definitely the propelling factor for me is playing this co-op because, it's a double-sided dog, two dogs, one body. And if you play co-op, then you control, either side of the dog thing. So you both
it's like a worm dog kind of.
Yeah, you both get a side of the worm dog face. What's fun too in this cute world is, you can bark. So like you have one interactive button on the shoulder, essentially. And if you're not interacting or grabbing something with your dog mouth, you bark, a la the button press you could do in Mario Party games when you're playing with your friends and you just want to make the sound effect over and over again.
Just be the worst.
Yes.
That's my favorite in Mario Golf. Just jeering people.
So that's a big value add to me. And to Tina.
Well, when you're playing co-op, yeah.
But yeah, as Kevin kind of mentioned, like the world of this is so colorful and vibrant. It's like it's really like it's fun and comfortable to be in. It's definitely has more of like a laid back, vibrant, colorful, cartoony type of atmosphere. That's definitely up both Tina and I's alley quite a bit too. And just like they call this sleep world is where you're kind of exploring. So you're going through and there's a lot of like mattresses and pillows and like stuff, pillows in corners and stuff. And there's like bears sleeping everywhere. And it's very adorable. It takes it nice, a phrase I haven't said in a while on here. But
it's been a minute.
It falls under that category.
Okay.
But ultimately, I would classify this as kind of like a puzzle adventure platformer, even though you can't jump. It definitely, you're kind of going through these levels, and there's verticality mostly through like ramps and bridges that you have to like turn on and off, or sometimes there'll be like rings that you can grab with your dog mouth. And then as one person grabs the ring, the other person detaches from whatever they're attached to like swing around to grab the next ring, a la monkey bar style, to like go over a gap or whatever.
And it's pretty physicsy, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, because that was the tough part, because when you're playing single player, you got to use both joysticks. You're controlling both dogs. It was just so, as soon as I got to the very first part of like having to, right on the first level, they're like teaching you that swing mechanic. And I was just like, yep, this game is just meant to be played co-op, or at least I can't do this, Certain games like Brothers, I can maybe pull it off because you're kind of solving a puzzle at a time or whatever. But this was like, this is too action oriented, even though it's kind of slow paced.
Yeah.
And casual, but like I can't execute these maneuvers.
Yeah, and a lot of the fun and whimsy is the fact that you're both basically controlling one character, but two,
It's like tug of war.
Yeah,
almost.
it is big time. And thankfully Tina and I, we've been together a very long time, so we share a lot of the same brain. So we don't have a lot of the things that might frustrate other folks if they were to play a two-headed worm dog creature through these levels. But we played through about 3 levels so far, which doesn't sound like much, but the levels are pretty long. They're kind of like multi-part dioramas that you're kind of going through. You'll go through and you'll try to collect these bones, which are kind of like the hidden currency bonus items through the level. But ultimately, you're just trying to get from one end of the level structure to the other to get inside this like dinosaur worm's mouth, and he's sleeping. So sometimes you need to grab like an alarm clock thing to wake him up first. Then you go inside of his mouth and like zoom to the next part of the level. It's all very cute. And we've been having a blast with it. They're starting to add new mechanics like light is another factor where like you'll have to light lanterns by grabbing this like light orb source. But again, only one, you typically want one side of the dog to hold that light source, and the other side then turns into like a flashlight. You can point at things, which like, there'll be invisible bridges that you can kind of see. And when you point the light at them, then the bridge appears for you to cross. There's a lot of that sort of thing that happens too. So that's where a lot of the puzzly stuff comes in. We're having a blast though. It's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it looks like a blast. I'm glad you guys are having a good time.
Yeah.
We should maybe try to, if you end up loving it, we should maybe try to sync up online or something sometime.
I'd be curious to see, and not to say, like, if there was latency, that might get frustrating, but if there wasn't.
Oh my God, yeah, because it's already frustrating as is, like in a good way, meant to be. Like, it's like a game you're meant to kind of battle against the controls a little bit, like Katamari or something. Or
Totally. You need to have that sense of whimsy and a bit of humor, and, you can't take this one too seriously. Yeah. I'll say that.
Yeah, but it sounds cool. Like the puzzly mechanics are more than I thought.
Oh yeah. I guess. There's a lot going on. And again, we're only 3 levels in. It seems like there's a lot more than that. So they keep throwing new mechanics at us. So yeah, I definitely want to play more of this.
Nice. Yeah, well, I got a couple more, like I said, game jam entries that I wanted to mention real quick. And before I get into those, I forgot to mention on Tailspin, when you don't drill through the dirt, when you drill into a wall, that's how you do a wall jump in that game. Mm-hmm. It's so clever. You like kind of bounce off in a weird way and do like kind of a backflip.
Whoa.
It's just like, it's such a clever mechanic how it's utilized. It's Tailspin is so good. You got to play it. And yeah, I'm so hype on all the games we're talking about today. Like BOBA is, I know I'm hyperbole king, but like BOBA is up there for my game of the year. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten about Meow. And there was one more game I mentioned as well earlier in the year that was a contender. I am drawing a blank on that one at the moment. But this other game as well, Die in the Dungeon. Same deal. It's actually getting updates just like BOBA. It was made for the Brackies Game Jam, if I'm not mistaken. I think this one was made over a week, so a little bit longer time. I might be incorrect on the jam, but it definitely was made over the course of a week. And a pretty decent sized team, but it's kind of a combination of, and we haven't played this yet, or I haven't. I don't think any of us have, but we need to get into Dicey Dungeons.
Yeah.
But from everything I can tell, this is kind of a combination of Slay the Spire and Dicey Dungeons.
Nice.
And if that sounds like I'm overselling it, I don't think I am. I've probably dumped like 10 hours into this game in the last week or two. They just made an update. Like I recorded a video for it for the YouTube, and then they made an update, or they just published an update right after that added a ton of the features that I was saying, I wish it had this. Like before, you couldn't pick which enemy you were attacking. But and now you can, like, it would just like auto select, like, I don't know how it calculated, if it was the highest health or how it did it, but you just didn't have a choice in the matter. But you're kind of working your way floor through floor, and you get 5 dice. Like you start with it's like a deck building dice game. Again, kind of like the games we mentioned before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, again, called Die in the Dungeon, just to not confuse it since I mentioned like 5 games already. But yeah, you roll like 5 dice, and they give you like 2 basic attack. I think you get like 2 or 3 attack dice to start, 2 or 3 block dice, a healing dice, and then a couple of boost dice, which are so you have this like tablet you can place. You have 3 like points you can spend, and you have this tablet that's like a 3x3 grid. It's essentially, if it were rotated 45 degrees, it would just be like a square 3x3 grid, but it's on like a 90-degree angle. And then like each tile has these like connecting lines between it, and that's how many like spaces are between them. So like if you have a boost dice, you get like if you get a 2 boost dice, you put that in the center, or you put that in a space on this tablet, this like 3x3 tablet, and then any dice that's 2 spaces away from that will get +2 added to that. And then you can upgrade these dice over time. You can discard these dice over time. You end up getting dice that are like heavy dice. So like if you have a +4 boost, it'll be a heavy dice, and so you can only place 3 dice per turn. You have 3, and maybe if you get further, maybe they'll add this in, I don't know, but for now you can only spend 3 points per turn, or like you play 3 dice.
Okay.
But you might get a hollow dice that doesn't cost any points to play, so you can play 4 that turn.
Nice.
Or the heavy dice that I mentioned, so if you put a +4 boost, which this is after you've like leveled up and got deeper into the game, you get a +4 boost. It's tougher. You can't. So if you get a +3 boost, you might be able to multiply, or I keep thinking they're multiplying, but it's just addition. But you might be able to add it to multiple dice. Whereas like if you get the +4, you have to place it in a tile that's 4 spaces away. So there's only 1 tile that you can place. There's only 1 dice you can boost with that. So it gets really deep into the strategy. And especially now that they added the ability to add like, or to pick like which character you want to attack. And then those heavy, I keep not finishing that thought. The heavy dice will like, they'll stay on the board. So like if it's a +4, it'll then stay in the same place, but it'll now be a +3 boost dice, or maybe it's a heavy attack. So it's a 3 attack. Now it's a 2 attack. And you're just trying to work your way through floors. And it really gets strategic. Like your healing dice are crystal. So like you can only use them once per battle. Like, And then you'll get, some of the dice will be crystal. Some of them will be, there's a bunch of different upgrades, and this last pass was like one more polish pass. They've done a couple polish passes since the jam, and then they're now thinking of like, hey, we're doing like a big content update next with like, I don't know what they're planning on updating, but like this game has some massive potential. Like you could easily play it with touch controls. I was actually playing it on my phone, even though it says Unity builds don't work on your phone. It worked fine on mine. It was like a little laggy, but like it worked. So like, I was just like, man, if I could play this on my Switch and just drag these dice around, and like, I didn't even mention the fucking amazing pixel art. Like, I think you guys have, I've been posting it nonstop. It's got this like just super cute, like almost like Paper Mario pixel art style.
Yep.
And the super cute frog. But then I was like brainstorming, like I was streaming it, and we were like, what if they added like another character class or multiple character classes, or things that would be like, oh, what if this enemy like puts a block on the dice or on your tablet where you can't place a dice in this spot? Or there's so much potential in this somewhat simple idea that I really think this game is going to go places. So I'm really excited to see what they do next. And I really think this is yet another contender for one of my favorite games of the year. Like I said, I've spent almost like 10 to a dozen hours on this game. So we'll see how we feel, or we'll see how I feel at the end of the year. And then I did just want to give a quick shout out, since I just mentioned the art. There's this game called Townseek that was also made for a game jam. Also over the course of a week. I've also been spamming this one in the Discord, so I'm sure you guys have at least seen the artwork.
Oh yeah,
it is gorgeous. Like apparently they had to hold their artists back. Like they were just like, we can. I was talking to them. They popped in while I was streaming the game. Actually, I just happened to check it out after they posted a new update, and now they're looking like they weren't planning on it, but now they're like updating it even more. They keep talking about adding more stuff. I've been hanging out in their Discord. Did you guys didn't get a chance to play it? No,
not yet.
No,
okay, yeah,
just saw it.
Well, yeah, it's like the most chill game there is. Like you're basically just flying a Zeppelin around. It's like an inflatable shark Zeppelin, and you're flying around going from like village to village or like settlement to settlement and bartering. Like there's 2 different types of currency, and it shows you like, oh, is this a better deal? It's basically just green or red. It's pretty simple. Like it's just like, is it green or red? Is this a better deal? But it's just like a stunning world to travel, explore. It's got a great sense of humor. Like there's this big like watchtower or a clock tower, and I was like, oh, Big Ben, and then I go up to it and it's like, oh, big wristwatch. I don't know. It's just like, it's really silly. It's made by Whales and Games, and they actually had another Ludum Dare game that is getting a bunch of traction. I think it's called like Vast Trivia of the Void or something like that. It's almost like a Mario Party trivia game. Really, really, and again, the polish level is insane. It's insane. But yeah, Townseek just definitely, and you can play it right in your browser, but you can go fishing from your Zeppelin. You can get all different types of Zeppelins.
Nice.
It's really fun. It's very much a you game. I think you guys will both enjoy it, but it's very much a John game.
It looks
but
like
I've been wrong before. I've been wrong before. But yeah, why don't I toss it over to you, John? And what have you been playing? I think a lot of.
I've been playing a John game for sure that we talked about previously on the podcast. Touhou Luna Nights, which is the Metroidvania spin-off of the Shmup series.
Yes.
And like when you were first explaining it on the podcast, like it just sounded everything like I really wanted, like all these different time control mechanics and different grades that you would get for, like, you would be able to freeze time and then use the knives you threw, which are your main weapon, as platforms.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it's so much of it.
I forgot about that, actually.
I love
that.
I
didn't even play that much of the game. I'm like 2 hours in, 2-3 hours max, and like I haven't played it since, but I was already seeing a ton of stuff.
It's a very short game in comparison to other Castlevania or Metroidvania games.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Good.
there are 6 areas in the game. Spoilers, I guess, if you
that's okay.
You really want to go in with no info on this, but it's very, for a game that is very complex in terms of like the puzzles that it gives you and like the different time control mechanics, like, you know, platforms that are highlighted in different colors behave differently, like some of them only move when time freezes, some of them move backwards when time freezes. So there's
almost like we talked about in Boba a little bit.
Yeah, like there's just a bunch of like really, really good puzzles, but also like basically every room is either like you're attacking enemies or solving a puzzle. There are basically no, like, I wouldn't call them like fat rooms, but like every room is like very deliberate and like serves an exact purpose, either like throwing enemies or throwing a puzzle at you.
Nice.
And so it is like a relatively small map in that regard, but like it is, I was telling Randall before the podcast, like this game I've died a few times in it, like not as much as like say, I would say like Hollow Knight like was a lot more frustrating in terms of like dying more often, but this game I have never felt frustrated with. Like every single death has like been immediate me, like I can do this. I can come back and I can like beat this, either this like puzzle or this boss, and it's such a satisfying feeling that I really haven't gotten from a Metroidvania. Like, typically I do take my time and kind of explore. Like I just played through Circle of the Moon, and also like we were talking about this in the Discord, like I had my save file for Metroid Fusion had like got lost in like a transfer, and you know what, I had just played it like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you know what, I'll play it again. Like I don't care. Like I'll boot that game up right from the start and play it over. And like
that's awesome though.
It's
great.
Like, I get so many different things now from so many different like games in this genre in a way that I really didn't have before. Like I basically had Metroid and Castlevania, and those were the only two series that ever did it. And so like I was
those
really
are the pillars
to how those games approached it. And
I mean, they literally named the genre after after those two franchises.
And like I know like there was wouldn't necessarily call it like the Renaissance in like the late 2000s,
right?
But like a lot of indie developers were starting to make them, and like they were all like decent. The ones that I played, I never really had one that was as good in my mind as like Metroid or Castlevania. But like basically since we started this podcast, I have played so many that are just as good in my eyes, or like do stuff that in a very interesting way that I don't get from like those main series. Like we've talked about Chasm before.
Yes, baby.
And
first one that came to mind.
A really satisfying progression.
Yes.
It almost sounds like you're describing like a more action-packed Chasm with like, because I think we could, like when you said like the fat of this game, or like how this game doesn't have any of that, like I think we said with Chasm, like, oh, like there's the rooms you like kind of have to do, and then like the stuff that's kind of stitched between is not the fat, but that's like what changes in the procedural generation sort of aspect. But it doesn't like all the puzzles, you do everything kind of the same. And that's not a knock on the game. That's an awesome feature of the game.
Oh, yeah.
But like, it sounds like this was like more like almost like Gato Roboto, the way you're describing it. Like, hey, there's these 6 areas.
Not even
and
close.
you plow through them.
Because it's a good game.
I know it's not the same. They're both great games. Maybe one's not a great Metroidvania in your eyes. Because I will agree that Gato Roboto is basically like 5 levels that are like just in 4 corners, and then the final level, sort of, it's like they are very separate. You are getting new abilities, but it's just letting you do the next section of the game. It's very straightforward level progression.
Yeah, but like
where Touhou lets you explore a little bit, it sounds.
Oh, it's a lot of backtracking, like the way that like the levels are interconnected. It is kind of more like a traditional Metroidvania in that respect, but like one of the things that I was thinking about for the game that I have gotten 100% of the items and power-ups and all the secrets, and I am at 99% on the map, and all I have left is the secret. It's not really secret. It's the extra boss after the like story. So I've beaten the game, seen credits.
Yeah.
And then there was an extra level that they added after the release. I'm not sure at what point after it was released it came out, but
nice.
I'm at the very final boss, because there is even multiple bosses in the extra area, which is great. And again, I've probably put.
Well, you want more, yeah.
I've probably only put like 10 hours into this game.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
I'm gonna play more of this. For sure.
It's so pretty, too.
Good. But like the last few bosses, like you can 100% see that this came from a shmup. Like that you are. All of the projectiles that are being launched by the bosses behave in those different time, like, or have those different characteristics that, like, when you freeze time, they control differently. So, like, you'll have a wave of projectiles that'll be either purple or yellow. So you need to, like, line yourself up underneath yellow, because when you freeze time, those will go in reverse and open up a gap that you can jump between. And, like,
nice.
The graze mechanic where like
like that's what I was thinking was like the most shmup influenced in the little bit that I played was like, okay, because that's like a thing that they use in a lot of bullet hell shmups is like get close to the projectiles and you like charge up a power meter.
Yeah, and you when you don't freeze time, it will heal you and recharge your mana and time. But if you do freeze time, it'll only recharge your mana and time. So like you have to like either be,
and you can level up that time, like how much time you have.
It's so good. Like at the end, I'm just like managing like in between dodging like these bullet hell like waves of things just coming at you. I'm like, all right, I've got more mana, so I'm gonna be dodging these in real time, or I've got a full clock, I need to be dodging these like while time is frozen.
Man,
like
sounds awesome.
The fact that like this doesnn't sound like, I know I was saying Townseek like sounds like a John game. Like this, the way you're describing this sounds like I'm fucking pumped, but it doesn't sound like a John game.
This
I'm surprised
doesn't
you
sound
like it
like
so
a John
much.
game, but like
you're like, oh man, I'm just dodging bullet hells left and right. I'm like, man, John likes this game? I'm so pumped to play it.
Give all shmups gravity and make sure that I can go enter a room and exit it at any time.
And the charm in this game is really great. I mean, I'm not as far as you are, obviously, but like even like the save points that like I don't remember exactly, but isn't it like a payphone or something?
It's a payphone, and it's the health, or that's just to save the game, but to regenerate your health, it's a vending machine.
Nice.
And
yes,
a thing to get 100%. And there aren't achievements on the Switch version, so there's not even a reason for me to do this. But you will like throw a can like on the ground after you use a vending machine, but there are garbage cans near the vending machine, and some of them are placed in weird places, and you can freeze time and position yourself so that you throw the can in the garbage can.
Yes,
and it just changes the garbage can from red to green.
Yes.
And that's all it does.
Amazing.
It doesn't give you anything. You get
so
just a little goodie. Just a little goodie.
Satisfying.
And plus, you don't know, it might happen if once you beat this final boss.
Yeah, I get the trash.
You don't know what
ending.
you might get rewarded with. They're gonna be like, "Hey, you're a piece of trash."
Trash bonus.
But yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. But no, you have me so sold to play some more. Like,
Sounds
it's
incredible.
It's that constant deal of like, oh, the next new thing came out, or honestly, I was playing this one on Game Pass, and like, the next new thing got added to Game Pass, and I just jumped onto it. And in my head, I assumed it was like going to be this really long Metroidvania. So like, just because most of them, I feel like they kind of at least shoot for like a 30-hour experience, unless they're specifically doing like the Gato Roboto bite-sized thing. So
I mean,
I just kind of presumed.
When I first opened up that map, like I was like, this looks so tiny. And then like as I was playing it, I was like, you know what? Like, this was the exact length this game needed to be.
Right.
Like, I'm glad that it was like, you know, who knows how many hours it's going to take me to beat the final boss. Maybe I'll be playing another 10 hours.
Add another 10,
that.
yeah.
But like,
yeah.
This is the exact length that I feel like it needed to be. And like, I've just been so satisfied in like a way that I really haven't gotten from this genre.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, like from first glance, I never played this. I had downloaded on Game Pass, but now it's only on Game Pass for PC. But at first glance,
you can
I'm
do
like,
cross-platform. If you have Ultimate, you can do cross-platform. Like, you can still download it in some weird roundabout way. I forget how you do it, but you can do it for
all
most
right,
games.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah,
but yeah,
we'll look
like,
into it.
At first glance, I'm like, it just looks like a Symphony of the Night clone. Like, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not. Like,
Right.
I absolutely love
But
Symphony
we've played
of the Night.
enough of them.
Like,
We've played enough of them, though.
yeah, I'm like, I'll put it on the list of like the curiosity games that I'm definitely going to get to at some point in theory. You know, but you explaining this, it's way more than that. And it's exactly up my alley, like, especially being a contained, deliberate 10-hour experience with
Perfect
all
length.
these mechanics. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
And that's with you doing everything. That's
Right.
like if you feel
Which I
compelled to do
would.
every last thing.
I
which
would do
in
everything.
a lot of these games. If it does feel tightly designed like that, I'm compelled to do as well.
Yes.
And you'll be happy to know as well, John, that there's another game very similar. It's not part of the Touhou series, but from this same team. I don't know the name of it, but Zandan mentioned it in our Discord at some point, and I'll put a link to it in the episode description here, so we don't have to look it up on the spot. But there's definitely another game, or at least I'll put a link to this team's like website or whatever.
Was it
I think it's like
Applebug?
Project Ladybug or something like that. I forget what their name is, but anyways, I know Zandan mentioned a game in the pod, and we mentioned Zandan on the podcast a while back. He makes some indie games of his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, he recommended that one highly and said it was also kind of a short and sweet Metroidvania. So
Nice.
kind of in that same vein. So
Nice.
there's more where that came from, apparently.
Hell yeah.
Great.
Nice. But I think we could probably wrap things up for the video game talk this week, guys. Yeah?
Yes,
Yeesh.
sir.
Nice. Well, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. And for pretty much everywhere else, you can find us at linktree/pursuingpixels. That'll have links to like the YouTube, the Twitch, the Instagram, the Twitter. We've been doing a lot. We've been a lot more active lately across the board. So, hit us up. Hit us up in the Discord. We got links to all that stuff. So, yeah, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week, and take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. They did Lodos, which is another.
The
It
long
looks sweet, right?
It's a weird fucking series to make into a Metroidvania.
Wait,
Lodos,
what? That's
wasn't
a
that like
different series?
that was like a Japanese series.
Yes.
I just I took one glance at it when Zandan showed it, and it was like, oh, okay, it looks like an anime themed Metroidvania.
It's a fantasy novel series, and it's
Okay.
mostly been RPGs.
Record of Lodos War. Am I on the right track there?
Yes,
That
sir.
Type? Oh, wow.
And then they made a fucking Metroidvania, which is
He said it was good. He definitely recommended it highly.
I've seen reviews for this that have also said it's very good, but what the why is like this team making weird, like it's like if they made a Game of Thrones fucking Metroidvania.